Welcome to the Irrigation Insights Podcast, where we talk about the business of irrigation. I'm your host, Jacob.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
I started out mowing yards, doing landscaping. And
Sure.
Met up with an irrigator and started doing irrigation. And saw that we could make way more money doing irrigation than
Mowing yards.
Yeah, mowing yards.
Yeah, I actually worked for a sod company when I started in the business, and I was laying sod. And then I saw like, hey, these guys are doing irrigation, right? And I was like, these guys are totally making more money because they got nicer cars than everybody else at the company I was working for. And I was like, I'm gonna go do irrigation with them because they needed guys to dig holes, and here I am still digging holes 15, almost 20 years later.
Yeah. I remember thinking when we started, this was the job that you show up in like swim shorts and flip flops, walk around, get wet, have fun.
It's not.
It's not quite that, but that was the idea, anyways.
Every once in a while, you do get a nice tan over the summer.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
And here I opened our gate this morning and my hands were cold, and I was like, dang, it's cold out today. And I looked, and it's negative 16 here today.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, it's going to be in the teens next week here, and that's cold for us.
Yeah.
Oh, I can imagine. I mean, teens is cold here, but like when we start to hit those negatives, I'm just like, I'll just sit in my nice warm office here and do the deal.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I was just up in Calgary, at their irrigation conference, and it was negative 18 when I got there. I'd never experienced.
Yeah, I seen a video of Kevin talking with you this morning on Facebook.
Yeah,
He had posted that somewhere.
Yeah, I got to meet him there. That was cool. It was fun time.
He is definitely one of the guys that's like, I don't know where he finds the energy to do everything he does.
Oh, I don't either. I have no clue. Because he was up there in Calgary, and then I seen him at the airport with me at 4 a.m. leaving, and he was going, I think, to Kansas City, and then from there he's going to Florida, 5 different cities in 5 days. I'm like, man, that is brutal.
That's tough roll.
That's tough when you got wife and kids. That's for sure.
Yeah. Gone all the time like that. Absolutely.
Yeah. No. I've been seeing the videos you're putting out. Similar to what we're trying to do, just put the message out. I see, just trying to lift up the energy, really lift up the.
Well,
industry.
and I started doing some more of those videos because, of course, like I'm not doing a lot of field videos at this point in the season with the snow on the ground, but I do a lot of those field videos and trying to do videos to help techs explain to the customers like this is why I want to repair this, or this is why I want to upgrade it, right? Because part of what we're supposed to do is educate ourselves to educate our customers so they understand the value when we're adding, right?
Yeah.
And we're not just basing everything on which guy is the cheapest. I know I'm not going to be the cheapest out there, and if you're the customer looking for the cheapest contractor, you're not the customer for me, and I'm not the customer, or I'm not the contractor for you. And that's okay, right? Like, it is okay that we are not here to service everybody.
No. We can't.
No. Yeah. And you don't even want to service the cheapest customers, really. They'd just be the biggest headaches.
Well, and the cheapest customers are always the first one. It's like they are the first one to jump to the next cheapest guy when you're not the cheapest anymore. They don't have a loyalty to you, and to get some sort of like trust. And do you guys try to keep the same techs on the same sites or the same customers? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Definitely.
So they can like get that face-to-face time with the customer and trust with the customer.
Yeah. Yeah. Customers don't really like seeing. Yeah, we find that if you send somebody different the next time, it's kind of like a whole shift. It doesn't always go well.
Yeah, you get them used to seeing one person.
Yeah. And that's a lot too. I'll see the single operator selling the company, and it's just like, yes, you're buying a customer list, but how many of those customers are just going to be gone? No, that's not better. let's cut the backlight. How many of those customers are just gonna leave, right? That's where I'm at. Like, if you're buying a customer list from Jim Bob, and they've always seen Jim Bob for the past 10 years, when Tom shows up because he bought that customer list, how many of those customers are going to be, oh, Jim Bob's not running the show anymore? Like, I'm finding somebody else.
Yeah, they don't even want to give you a chance.
Right.
That was the whole point of our first episode, which I don't think resonated well. I mean, we called it "Build to Sell." I don't think people like that, but it. Even if you don't
It's
ever,
probably the case of like, I listened to that episode and I'm like, oh, I like what they're saying in that episode. It's just bad title.
yeah, maybe so. Yeah,
like if you guys would have titled it something different, I think that would have resonated differently and hit differently.
probably so. Yeah, yeah, you got to get the titles right for sure. I'm learning that. But you do have to, even if you never plan to sell, you got to structure it, make it sellable, because I've had the opportunity to buy, that solo operation. Guy's getting ready to retire, wants to sell it. It's just him. He has a helper, and he's got 20,000 customers in his database. And he comes to me and like, yeah, I want to sell it, but he wants $250,000. And I'm like, this is not worth that, man.
No.
This is worth,
right.
Maybe 20,000. This is worth what your phone number is.
Well, my buddy was asking me on one because it was through a brokerage firm, and he had sent me over a link, and I looked for it, and I was like, I do think I know which local company it is, but I was like, honestly, for the price they were asking, if it's not coming with like equipment and vehicles, right? Because like those do hold some value. Those vehicles make money, and if you have something like a bigger Ditch Witch or a Maxi Sneak, worth what that is, right? Like that equipment, I mean, it depreciates with the hours that are put on it, but it's worth something, right?
Yeah, the equipment is just customer list. You got to have customer lists aren't worth much, and you got to have some. You got to have an asset. If you really want to turn around and sell it one day, get ready to retire, it needs to be running by itself.
Right, and because I switched to Creekside here in September, and really just see eye to eye, and had the opportunity to jump into a manager role again, and where we're growth develop, we're just integrating in service autopilot, so we're going through that, which my owner Billy's like, I don't understand it, like I'm hoping this is going to go well. And I said, Bill, any software is better than paper, and we're going from one software to another, but it's like always the software shift hiccups that we go through, right there. And while I haven't done service autopilot necessarily, I've done a couple of Hindsights and Field Central and LMN, right? All those customer relation softwares that, you got to choose one. I think you guys are on Service Titan, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, it doesn't matter what software you're running as long as you're running a software that works for you, right?
Yep. I think the biggest thing is being able to see all of your reports just openly, plainly. I want to know my booking rate, my average ticket, my revenues per technician. I mean, those are the big ones. Conversion rates, things like that. I want to be able to just log in and see it right there.
Do you know your average revenue on a technician per yearly rate?
Oh yeah, yeah. We can see each technician. Some are higher than others.
I made waves when I hit the one video that said like an average technician should be making $250, and good ones are making $350. And I know Justin Sprinkler Dude had said, I got some guys that are making $350. I know I've seen before one guy, he said he was in a really rich area in Texas and he was making $6, but he's going year round all the time, right? Like, and
I think our highest one for last year, was $490. I think it was $490.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Six is tough. There's probably that's tough. And our guys don't go with helpers either, though. So you got to factor that in.
Right. And if you are cracking the 500,000, you're in that top, I want to say 2% of guys that are just revenue, revenue based numbers, like not how many hours or anything, but like 2% of guys are cracking $500,000.
It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
I want all of our guys to hit over 300. Like if they can just do that, I'm happy. Really, 350.
Well, and I equate it to how much, like you were talking to Kevin, how much you want to offer all the benefits and everything. You want your guys to stay around year from year. So, and you want to be paying them good livable wage, right? To pay your guys a good livable wage, you have to be charging these prices. Like, I don't want to pay a guy $20 an hour. I want to pay a guy $30, $35 an hour. And if I'm billing hourly, I'm billing at $125, $130 an hour. And that's just where it really needs to be to pay those guys a livable wage so they can support themselves and a family.
Yeah. Are y'all still y'all bill hourly or y'all do flat rate?
So I am hourly, and I know everybody calls it flat rate, and I call it one price, right? It's like you have one price to replace a sprinkler, you have one price to replace a valve, and but yeah, because we do a lot of HOA work. So the HOAs I feel here are really time and material, right?
Yeah, I can see that for HOAs.
But then I am, so with the service autopilot, like I'm going to give my techs the ability to do those estimates and get the signed on the spot. So I think a lot of the residential stuff is going to be price to replace a sprinkler head is going to be X, right?
Yeah.
And you maybe have some of those. It's like you're not going to give that one price to the one head in the tree root mass that it's going to take 2 hours just to replace that head. Like there's going to be some hourly rate thrown on top of that one repair. But, you're looking at the averages of everything, right? And that's the way you have to look at it to scale.
Oh, yeah. And we'll have multiple prices for different things. And you could have multiple prices for heads to include, have an option for that head in a tree root. We have, I think, like 6 or 8 different pipe leak prices, valve prices, 4 backflow prices, just to include. And then that's where the technicians have to dial it in. They have to know which one to choose depending on the situation.
No, I was surprised to hear that, like, you only got one guy that had previous experience in irrigation work.
I've found that the best, right now, the 5 best guys we got had no prior experience when they came here. Because you bring somebody in that's got prior experience. Well, we do have the one guy that had prior experience, and he was okay. But what we found with people with prior experience is trying to break their old habits and trying to get them to, not maybe conform's not the right word, but it's the best one I can think of. But like conform to the way we do things and go up to our standards. And it's just so hard when you send them out by themselves because then they want to go back to what they were doing. And then
bad habits. I get you right there. Guys that come from other places might have bad habits. And it's not necessarily like you say conform. I think of like we do everything the Creekside way. Like, yeah, you get a guy that's done startups before, they know how to do startups, but I'm just working on SOPs for doing everything like a startup SOP and like, just as a base template to lay out some steps and then give some bullet points as reminders. Like I even put in a reminder when you go and greet the customer at the door, I want you to take off your headphones. I want you to take off your sunglasses so you can establish that eye contact with the customer, right? Like I feel like that's a really important thing for customer sales. It seems like a weird thing to put in there, but then at the end of the day, it makes a lot of sense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It makes a ton of sense. Every little tweak you can make all builds on top of each other. That we found. You start.
Yeah, and another thing we found, we get into something funny a little bit. Another thing we found is a lot of guys we get that come from like other companies. You don't always get the full story as to why they don't work for that company anymore. And we hired this one guy, and he was supposed to have like 5 years experience with an irrigator's license. He shows up 3 days in a row drunk.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we just had another one that came from another massive company.
He couldn't even show up on time.
Yeah, and he was like, "Oh, I left them. They just got bought out. It's getting too corporate." And 3 days in a row showed up to training late every day. I think the last day, and he was like, "Oh, I can't make it today, this and that." We're like, "Just don't bother coming back."
And then we had just Friday. Friday we let. So Thursday we had Wednesday we had a guy calling for a job. He called like 5 times that day. So I give him a call. He tells me, I've been doing this for 7 years. I've been working for this company. I like the way y'all's pay is. I want to come work for y'all. I'm like, okay, well, let me put you with my guy to meet you. He's going to kind of like assess your skills a little bit. And so I sent him out there on Friday, and he calls me, and in his own try to be nice way for about 45 minutes, he pretty much tells me, well, I don't need my skills assessed. I'm ready to go. Like, no, you're going to get your skills assessed if you come over here, because we want to make sure you're going to do it our way and make sure that you actually know what you're doing. I'm not just going to put you in a truck and send you on your merry way, And he's like, well, I don't have time to waste, having my skills assessed. I know what I'm doing. I'm like, okay, well, then I don't want you.
Yeah.
I don't want you.
Well, it comes up all the time too, guys talking about because are you guys in where are you guys located regionally? Texas?
Yeah, in Dallas.
DFW.
Okay, because I see Texas all the time, because Texas requires irrigator's license, right? You got to have a CIC. Is that what you need?
It's an LI.
Okay, so is it through the state of Texas, not through the Irrigation Association kind of deal?
Yeah, no, not through the association. It's through TCEQ.
Okay. And I see lots of guys say, well, guys have that and they still don't know what they're doing too.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, I mean, we're the prime example.
Yeah, well, because I don't go out there. I'm a licensed irrigator, but I don't know. I work on the business side of things.
He's the one with the LI, and I'd be deathly afraid to put him in a truck by himself for a day.
100%.
Yeah. Now, are you guys familiar with EOS at all? Have you ever read Traction or?
Oh yeah, I read it.
Yeah. Which one of you guys is the integrator, and which one is the visionary?
He's the integrator for sure.
He's the integrator.
He's the visionary.
That happens a lot, right? Like, I find that owner, visionary, integrator, like general manager, VP, whatever role that is, it's usually like right-hand man integrator, right?
Yeah. That he's the integrator. I can get an idea and be like, all right, this is what we got to do, and then he's implemented it. He's figured out a way to make it work.
Yeah, and you're already 10 ideas down the road.
Yeah.
And I don't even have to have the idea fleshed out. I can just, when we figured out how we're going to offer options, do upsell to upgrading systems to make them, smart watering, all the MP rotors and all that stuff. I didn't even have the idea fleshed out. I wrote a 9-page sales script. I didn't even have it finished. I just kind of let him read it halfway through, and then the next day, I think he's held like a $6,000 system upgrade. I was like, all right, man, sweet.
Now we're implementing it.
Yeah. Now we're rolling with it.
Well, I
mean, that's important. You got to know too. Like, your tech's got to know all that education end of it, like why we're doing this upgrade, like why the upgrade matters to the customer, and teach the customer. Otherwise, you're just like giving them a price and telling them you're going to do something, and the customer is like, well, why do I need to do that? I don't understand. And you're not going to sell it if you're not explaining it to them.
No.
Yeah. And it's not. Yeah, the primary reason isn't to make money. It's to save them water. It's to save them money. It's to save the customer money and to save them water. Why am I watching your system blow water all up in the air? Why is it running down the street?
Which is the same reason. This is the same reason we disagree with some of the Facebook posts where you'll see guys like talking about, them selling work and stuff, and there'll always be a couple comments in the end. Well, don't sell everything so you have work later. Why? Why you want to do
don't
that?
be a pushy salesman.
Well, and I'm on the opposite end of it, because I worked with a guy who was another tech, and he was always like, he didn't replace heads with leaking seals because that costed the customer too much money. But he didn't even give the customers the option, where I was going on sites and I was at like brand new customer. They got 8 leaking rotors. And I say, hey, you got 8 leaking rotors. Like, show them the leaking rotor. I run a zone right by the front door. See, all these ones I got flagged in your yard are leaking like this. I can replace them. This is the price. I'll do it right now. And the customer's like, yeah, that's a lot of water. And I say, typically, I want to say I've done the math a couple times on rotors, and you're looking at about a year and a half return on investment of replacing that rotor, which is good information to give the customer. That rotor you're going to pay this money for in water, it's going to cost you that in a year. So why don't you just replace it?
I think that's the biggest hurdle we get with our guys is them deciding what the customer wants. That's our biggest hurdle. They say, "Well, I just don't think they'll buy that." Well, how do you know?
Yeah.
Give them the option for everything. The customer is going to decide what they want. And, nice thing about Service Autopilot and some of these systems, if you're doing the estimate right on your tablet, you can line item it, right? Like you can line item the upgrade on the controller separate. You can line item the 8 heads you need to do separate, line item that leak and valve box separate, right? So then they can say, hey, and we understand customers got a budget, right? Like nobody's got an infinite budget. So if they say, hey, we're going to wait on that smart controller upgrade. We are going to fix the leaking heads today, and we're going to fix that leaking valve box because we got enough to cover that, and we're comfortable with that. You say, great, I'm going to get to work and I'm going to fix those things, right? Whereas some customers are going to say, oh yeah, let's just do all of that. Like you're the professional, you're making the recommendations. Let's just go all in. And those are the sales you like to hit because you're like, okay, now I got a lot of stuff to do, and I'm going to fix all this for the customer. And then you come back at their mid-season check or wet check or whatever you call it, and you're going to be like, wow, this yard looks so much better after there's no washed out areas around the heads that were just mud before, and now there's nice grass there. Because yeah, we are trying to save water, but we're also trying to make their lawns look good at the same time, right?
Yep.
And you guys don't do any other service, but I'm in a full service shop, right? So we would mow a residential. We do a lot of HOA mowing, and that's how you get a lot of sprinkler business from HOAs, right? But we also do residential fertilizer and turf care because now I'm not just dependent on my irrigation to make the customer's lawn look good, but now we're feeding their lawn with the nutrients we want to feed it. And that's all part of the process to make their lawn look better, right?
Yeah, 100%. We are starting to offer fertilization weed control. I'm licensed for that as well. So we're going to be, but that's like 1% of our business right now.
Yeah. And a big portion of my business, like in my area, I'm known as a 2-wire guy. Like if you got a bad 2-wire system that's got a lot of issues, I sometimes get the call from another contractor that says, hey man, I got this HOA. They just got this system. Like I don't have the time to really deep dive in and spend 3 days on a 2-wire system to get everything up and running, right? And for me, that's a great opportunity because I'm good at it. So I'll be there. I'll get you an estimate on what it's going to take to fix it. Like I usually get from that other contractor, like, do you have a jumping off price? Like, are they willing to spend $2,000 into diagnosing it so I can spend, a considerable amount of time, 3-4 hours out there to diagnose it? Maybe I use, a couple of DBYs. And I mean, sometimes a 2-wire problem is like, I found the 2 bad connections on the system, but it took me 4 hours to do it. And, 4 DBYs and 4 hours of service later, their 2-wire system is up and functioning. But like that skill doesn't come for free, right?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. We don't really do a lot of HOAs. Every now and then.
I ran into a couple months ago. I ran into a 2-wire system.
Did you?
Yeah, that's the one bad thing. The one bad thing I know that we have in our area, and I'm sure everybody has this. You walk up to a house and you see, you're walking up, you see a tennis court over here, and like a lazy river over here, and you're just like, okay, either this is going to be a great day, because you're already sitting here thinking, well, they're probably going to have 35 plus zones. I'm by myself. It's going to take me an hour and a half to look at all this, and you're rolling the dice, right? You're either going to get somebody that's got the money and just looking for somebody trustworthy that they want to use, or you're looking at somebody that's probably living beyond their means, which is what we usually find. And I call them up and I'm like, hey, you've got 20 plus heads that are either leaking around the seals or broke or just laying over on their side. I got 2 decoders here that need to be replaced. They're not even working, and they're just like, well, I think I'll have my garden person do this. And I'm like, well,
Thanks for the call and the diagnosing fee. Like, yeah. I'm going to be on to the next house now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
The
one thing. Yeah,
difference
like
in
you
the
would think.
HOA though world is they're like, okay, like we just need to fix it. And dealing with other contractors, they're like, I find a lot of the guys that are mowing, ferting, and doing irrigation on HOA, it's either the general manager or the owner themselves that do all the irrigation stuff, and they don't have time to spend 3 hours on a property. So I'll get a call to fix a 2 wire system, and Tom's got that time, and Tom's tech's got that time. Like, or if I need to do the repair, like I got the other techs over here to cover our stuff and just really go to town, get a system fixed. And some of these repairs, I did one in September of this year. It was I won't say lightning strike because a lot of the power surges I seen come from dirty power side. And it was a dual system. It had two controllers on both sides of the road, and both controllers got smoked because they were from the. I just, I gotta like, I'm like, okay, now I need to replace controllers, and I actually like looked at it and I said, hey, we can get you a new system with new ICD decoders. Put in that surge protection because I have not done a huge power surge or lightning strike repair that they haven't bought grounding afterwards, right? Like hindsight is 2020, and they understand, oh, $40,000 repair. Yeah, I'm gonna spend $8,000 on grounding the system, I guess, on top of that, right? And it's like, this is what the manufacturer recommends for these systems, but it's in my area, the grounding is not seen done because you're gonna get out of the warranty period if you're not grounding the system. It's only that 10 years down the line when they get a bad power or they get a lightning strike that now you need to replace all your decoders because there was no grounding to isolate and save any of it, right? And it's like, I'll go through that particular system. Instead of replacing two controllers, I upgraded one controller and I put both the wire paths together. It had two different water sources, but with Flow Manager and stuff, you can have this block of zones running on one water source and this block of zones running on another water source at the same time. So it's kind of assessing what is best for the customer and kind of giving them the best option, right?
Oh yeah. Are y'all for your residential? Are y'all offering options like when y'all do that? When y'all are out there to run the sales calls, or like what's
So
that sales process?
our sales process, like we have, and I posted the packages in our group, what packages we offer. I just titled them like bronze, silver, gold, or good, better, best, right? Whatever you're gonna call them, like 1, 2, and 3. We all know the good, better, best options. We give our customers the option to bundle their startup and blowout together, and they get a little savings kick, which you guys don't do blowouts. So the blowout game, it can be a little. There'll be like the $50 sign guy that's just doing $50 blowouts, but us doing their startup and packaging it together, we already have their blowouts locked in. They already paid for it, so it makes scheduling them in different areas of the city, right? Like we're just going to schedule in different pockets, so now we're being more efficient. And then we do step up to include a mid-season check or just an inspection in the middle tier, and then we give some. I'm trying to think because there are some other options that like some other benefits to tiering up, right? Like
Yeah.
and some of them add a lot of value to the customer but don't cost the company a lot of money. So like priority scheduling, like because I had listened to that episode where you guys were talking about these HVAC companies, they're going to get somebody out there next day.
Yeah.
So giving the customer, if you're in our highest tier, you get the benefit of a 24-hour business day call, right? Like, so if it's, obviously you call me at 4 o'clock on a Friday, we're gonna get there Monday, right? But if you call me on Tuesday, I'm gonna get there by Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And just having enough techs around, and that doesn't necessarily cost the company any money, but it gains a lot of value into the customer to get that extra package. We added our monitoring for like HydroWise. That's added in our mid tier and our top tier, right? So it costs me a little time each day to just have that on, and if I see an alert come by, but that's also saying, hey, now I got an alert. Now we can fit it in this day. Hey, Mr. Johnson, I see that there's something going wrong. Your HydroWise is telling me you might have a problem with zone 2. Would you like us to come out? I got a spot for you on Thursday if you want me to come out. And Mr. Johnson just says, Thursday would be great. Like, okay, Thursday at 9 a.m. you're gonna see Evan, your tech. He's gonna be out there and get you all taken care of, right? So you're also gaining, like, that actually adds value to the company as well, because you're gaining that monitoring, and while you are spending some time doing it, you're getting more influx and you catch the problem before it becomes a bigger problem. We added in, I want to say at one of our tiers, we added in landscape light inspection. So my guys go out with bulb kits, right? So, for simple fixes like bulbs, and it's, yes, could a customer with a burnt out bulb just buy one on Amazon and replace it themselves in the landscape lights? Yes, they could. Is it going to be half of the price of your light while you're there? Yes. We're giving them the value of inspecting it, and it's also the convenience. My guy's got the exact bulb you need. You're not going to order the wrong one. He knows which one you need. He's got it in hand. He's going to replace it right now, and your light is going to be up and running. And more in-depth problems, you would give them, well, these 3 lights aren't working, so maybe there's a cut wire. We have the tracer and the equipment to do that. So it kind of naturally just lends itself to the irrigation world to just, but I don't see a lot of companies doing landscape lighting inspections. But if I'm giving that my customer that, I'm not doing a second trip for it. I'm doing it while I'm doing their inspection or I'm doing their startup, right? So yes, my guys are taking time on site, but I'm not doing an extra trip. And it's also giving us the ability to get some of the sales of the landscape lighting repair. And it gives us since we do the installs, the customers that say, well, how's that a benefit? I don't have landscape lights. It also opens the conversation to sell new landscape light packages as well.
That's interesting. Yeah, we would have to train everybody on landscape lighting. Most of our guys aren't familiar with it.
Hey man, that the Hunter online training, Hunter U, it's got it all in there, right?
Yep.
And that's some of the benefits too of using, like, some of these manufacturers, Hunter and Rainbird. I haven't deep dive into the Rainbird University or whatever they're calling it, but some of these online trainings that are free and available for us, like, it's worth it to pay your tech to train on that. And I always say training costs money, but we are investing in our crew and our staff so they can be more knowledgeable out there and make the company more money, and they're more valuable for the company when they can do that stuff. If you got guys that can do landscape lighting and irrigation, that guy is valuable in both those worlds.
Yeah, I think people underestimate how important training is. Yeah, not just with the lighting, with understanding all of the water conservation aspects. And we do sales training. We're doing role playing. We're getting the guys up in front of each other, get them uncomfortable. I love that stuff. I want to make them really uncomfortable here. That way, when they're out in the field, it's not so uncomfortable.
Well, and I'm big on scripts, right? Like, and not to necessarily you should choose what your tech scripts are. Like, I just say, give a friendly greeting. Each tech is going to have their own friendly greeting. They may be on a first name basis with Debbie, that's their client, right? And like, they may greet them on a first name basis because they're essentially friends. Like, a lot of times these customers you'll have for years, and you'll know these customers on a first name basis. And that's again why the same tech there is important, because they're getting a relationship with that customer to know and trust that technician. So, I don't know this Joe Blow off the street that just says, I need a new controller, and doesn't say why I need a new controller. I mean, I've seen that so many times. You go to, especially in the HO or the commercial world or the HOA, and you're like, I mean, I was here 2 months ago, and then they just had sod installed, and the new landscapers told them they needed a new controller, but they didn't call me. And it's like, your controller was still under warranty with me, and I don't really think you needed a new controller. Like, just some dishonest person just sold them that, and now they're out of there for the quick money. Where I'm not necessarily in it for the quick money. I'm in it for, I really gain the value of the customer when I get your repeat service over and over. I know you guys say you don't do installs. Like, I'm in the same boat here because I don't have a dedicated install crew, but I've been an install foreman at another place. And if you got an install crew that's banging out 24 zones a day, doing 3 to 4 houses a day, they're really valuable. And then you can be installing the $3,500 systems for a builder, right? Because that's really where it comes down to the install world, and getting the price down is the efficiency of that individual crew.
Yeah, I mean, we've looked at that, but I don't know. We've been offered neighborhoods. Like I was telling Kevin, I mean, I've had the contracts. I pulled the permits on a neighborhood before, and then got into it and just been like, I think you were there at that one in Wiley. We had a neighborhood in Wiley. I mean,
Was it Wiley or Levant?
it was a Wiley, but I mean, it was several hundred homes, and then we just were like, man, we're gonna make no money at the end of this, or maybe like 5% profit, and it was like, what are we doing? I just kidding.
Well, and a lot of guys are installing them to gain those customers down the road. And it's like, if I can retain 50% of those customers for the next 5 years, then I'm making it back on the service end. I'm just growing my service base without advertising, right? Because there's the thought that you can just advertise and gain those new customers in, or you're actually installing the systems yourself and gaining those customers as a service customer.
Yeah, I don't think that's bad if you charge enough. I know some install companies out here that do installs like that, but then they go out and they charge $20 to change a sprinkler head, and it's like, what are you doing?
Right. Yeah,
You know,
that's
you've completely killed yourself on the service side.
well, and there's no value on that at $20, right? Like, we know the cost of doing business, like, where you might not necessarily think of it up front, the insurance, the wages, the employee cost, not to mention the vehicle costs. Like, our our trucks or vans do cost a lot of money to move them to site, right? Like, just the cost of the vehicle itself. Now, I know you guys were talking about in the last podcast I just listened to while I was plowing, like, you just now just go out and buy a vehicle because you need a vehicle, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're not trying to nickel and dime and get the best price. You need it now, and you're just going to go and buy it, get it wrapped, and get it in the field to make that money back on it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's because you guys are vans, I'm guessing, right? Because you guys do no snow plowing, so there's no need for a truck.
yeah. We have two places we buy vans from, and typically Chevy Expresses. We have some Fords, but
Yeah.
yeah, we just find ones, get them kitted out, wrapped, and
I like vans better myself. You get a drawer in the bottom, or two drawers stacked, and some shelving. You get I like the little pack out style boxes, whatever brand you have, and you have a little rack where you got all your nozzles and small parts in those. Vans organize well. Like I said, here in this world where we got a lot of snow plowing to do, you get trucks because they do double duty in the winter, and that's part of the business model, is to move snow when we're
yeah,
not when we're not firing irrigation, we're moving snow.
Yeah,
yeah.
we had two trucks. I liked them both, and we haven't gotten another one since.
The trucks are nice. I just like the vans because they're big billboards.
Well, yeah, vans for service, trucks. If you're doing install too, you want a truck that can hold a decent amount of pipe in the back. Well, I guess you guys do PVC down there too. So rolls
Yeah,
of poly are different, right? Like,
yeah.
so you're stacking rolls of poly in the back of a pickup, and you need to tow a trailer that's got a vibratory plow like a Ditch Witch or a Maxi Sneaker. Um,
Well,
Sometimes they have trenchers and stuff here.
well, and I'm trying to see if we can maybe, because nobody, yeah, you're right. Nobody here does poly. I would like to see if we could maybe do some upselling on putting them in with pegs, because we lost a miscommunication. It was kind of like a chain of bad events all rolling in at once. We had a a guy, one of our guys on the lower end, probably close to the bottom. He was sent out to an install quote, and nobody caught it. Well, the install quote was for a soon to be coming polo club, and he took a sub out there with him that we use sometimes, and they were like, "Hey, we want to irrigate, like 500 trees.
It was
We want
1,000 trees.
yeah, 1,000 trees, 500 on each side." And so they're like, "Okay, well, we can get a quote for that. We can get a quote for that." And the guy was like, "But I don't want PVC." And instead of calling one of us, they were like, "Oh, well, we can't do it if we're not going to do it in PVC." Now I'm sitting here thinking, yes, we can, but we just need to know that so we can put a price in to do it with something that's not PVC. Because he was just like, I don't want to pay for 1,000 trees and then have a pipe leak up here I don't know about, and then I lose 500 trees. And I understood that. I talked to the guy, but the problem is they had given him such a bad taste in his mouth. There was just nothing I could do.
I mean, like to me on that end, if I'm there and he says, I want to make sure I'm not losing my 500 trees that are going to cost $10,000 or how much ever, those 500 trees are not going to be free. I'm like, that's an upsale opportunity into some flow meter and a smart controller that's going to be either hotspotted or Wi-Fi or whatever, that I'm going to see everything is working right from my computer. And as soon as it's not, I'm going to be like on the phone with that guy, because, that's a considerable amount of money he's invested in that trees. And I say, hey, man, it looks like you have a problem. Like, there's a break and the master valve shut off. We're sending somebody out today to get you taken care of. In fact, I got a guy moving towards your site right now. And most likely a person like that is just going to be like, okay, sounds good. I'm here and I'm going to meet them there. What's their ETA kind of customer, right? Knowing your customers.
Yeah, he told us right up front he did not care about price. Price was not an issue. He just wanted everything done right.
Yeah, he wanted it a specific way, and I go and talk to this guy, and he's like, "Well, we don't do it in PEX." I'm like, "If somebody wants it, yes, we can." It was lack of communication. And the sub, he didn't care. He was just like, "I don't even want to touch it if we're not doing it in this." And I'm like, "Well, we can do it in that. We just need to charge accordingly for it, because nobody down here puts them in with anything but PVC."
Right.
They're all they're all class 200 PVC.
Yeah, that was a big missed opportunity. Definitely a 6-figure missed opportunity.
It most definitely was. And I talked to the guy, and he was like, I'm kind of just like, he even told me, he's like, they gave me a bad feeling about y'all. I appreciate you calling me, reaching out, telling me you can do it. Because I even told him, I was like, I've got a guy that I will send out there today to give you an estimate on doing it in what you want, the way you want it. I offered him, we can set up a smart controller where we can both manage it. You're not going to lose any of these trees. We can do it the way you want. And he was just still like, well, just, I don't know. Let me think about it. It was a giant missed opportunity.
He would already called another company and has them coming out for an estimate to do it, like.
Which I find to be funny, because there's almost going to be, with the installers that we have down here, there's going to be very few people that are even going to attempt that.
Right.
Here, because it's so expensive and nobody does it.
Somebody will, like he said.
And that's my kind of high value customers. Like, I'll just put that in a high value customer, because they know what they want. They have no problem spending the money on what they want. I typically find the high value customers, their expectation level is right up here. And you got to meet or exceed their expectations. But there's never really a discussion or a back and forth on price. The price is the price. Either they're okay with it or they're not. But their expectations are here, and you got to meet or exceed those expectations. I had one commercial customer. They were a commercial shipping company, and they had a large warehouse out here, and I did weekly inspections of their, gosh, I want to say they had about like 215 zones on a Rainbird 2-wire system, right?
Ooh.
They wanted weekly inspections?
Weekly inspections. They had weekly mowing, and they probably did monthly or bi-monthly fertilizer, because they were running their system all the time. They want it running, and I would use the term, they want everything to look prom perfect, okay? There was 1 foot dry spot anywhere, they would have no problem paying me to add a head, change coverage, just to hit that little dry spot to make sure their stuff looked picture perfect every time.
I feel like it's rare to find I mean, I could be wrong. I don't deal with commercial. I just feel like it's rare to find a commercial company that way.
A lot of times their budget and like a lot of the HOA and commercial stuff I'll do, and I've been talking to Bill, our owner, with it. It's like I need to have a pre-approval rate on an HOA, whether it's $1,000, $2,000, whether it's $700 or $500. Like you need to give your tech an amount and say if it's going to be more than this, like we will submit a proposal. But if the repairs are going to be less than this, we are just going to prioritize the repairs and make those repairs.
Yeah, that makes
Because
sense.
it takes more time for me to have a guy drive a half an hour to a place. Now he's driving to the next place, and then we get approval 2 weeks later, and he drives back to that spot. Like we work on getting pre-approvals with our customers and our commercial customers. And you know what? If it's going to be over $500 and they have a $500 pre-approval, we're going to say, hey, we did have a main line leak that we just took care of because that's what you're going to see this 450 portion on the bill. And here's all the other stuff that needs to be fixed or upgraded. And here's your prices on that. And either they're going to give us a yes or a no. And I tell guys, don't feel bad when the customer gives you a no. You're just on to the next estimates, and the ones that are yeses are the ones that we're gonna score points on, and we're gonna focus on doing the work on all the approvals that we get. We're gonna leave all the no's back in the dust, and even some of the customers that are recurring customers, they're gonna be like, but every time you come here, you tell me I should get a smart controller. Yes, every time I do come here, I tell you should get a smart controller. That's how much I believe in it. I'm not just trying to soak you on it. Like we firmly believe on saving you this water. I had one big commercial customer. I did the math and I was like, do you guys know you're spending like $23,000 a month on water? And they're like, we're spending how much on water? And then they go and start looking at their water bill and they're like, oh, this guy is right. We're spending this much. And I said, if I can save you just 30% with this smart controller, you're going to get the return in the first year. And here's my price to put in 3 controllers on Centralis. Like it's going to be $8,000. You're going to recoup that in a year and a half or 2 years or whatever. Like doing the math, because a lot of the commercial people are property managers that are spreadsheet people. And that's the best way to describe them. They're looking at the numbers on the spreadsheet. So if I can show them the return on their investment to save that water, that saves that money, and jump through all the mental hoops for them. I mean, even a rain sensor, sometimes you say, oh, your rain sensor is going to be $250 to install a wireless rain sensor. And they're just going to say, oh, that's too expensive. I don't want to do that. But if you say your system's got 22 zones, average 2.5 gallons a head, you got 10 heads a zone, and you're like, you just come up and say, every time your system runs, it's going to be this many gallons of water, and your rain sensor just needs to disable 3 times, and it's going to pay for itself. Then they start thinking, it is going to rain 3 times in a season. I'm going to get that return on that investment. Yeah, let's go ahead with the $250 rain sensor. So it's like, like I said, you got to mentally jump through those hoops for the people sometimes, and you got to figure out what your customer really wants. Like spreadsheet people want to save money. So I'm going to give them all the options to save the money and explain everything in the value of saving money.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to do it. Yeah, even on residential, everybody wants to save money.
Even on residential, everybody wants to save money except that one guy, and that one guy, he's the customer. He doesn't care how much he waters. He just wants lawn domination of the whole neighborhood.
Yeah.
He's a good customer to have too, because if you're like, you got a dry spot here, I want to add a head over here and it's going to cost X. He's going to be like, yeah, let's add that head. I always do have a dry spot there in the middle of the summer. And I don't like that, right? Like he's a different type of customer. That's probably your 3% of customers are that person, but you got to identify that customer when you come upon them. So you know what you're selling to sell to that customer.
Yeah. No, I like the way you break it out, show them what they're saving, what they could be spending on, how much they could save. Yeah, if it rains 3 times and you disable that with a rain sensor, you just paid for it.
You just paid for it. And some of it's harder to quantify. Like it's really hard to quantify how much is a master valve flow meter combo gonna save you until you have the commercial customer that gets a mainline break and it washes out part of their parking lot, and it just costed $250,000 to make the parking lot repair, right? Like not even the irrigation repair. And it's like, after that, yes, go ahead and install that flow meter master valve. Like, I'll pay $5,000 for that. But up front, when you give them that $5,000 option, a lot of times they're going to be like, I don't see that. Like, I don't really know until something happens. And like, you hate to be at the I told you so moment with some of these things. And you're just, every time I come on these, I'll go back to these 2-wire systems that aren't grounded. Every time I step on one of these systems and I say, hey, by the way, your system isn't grounded. The manufacturer recommends grounding these systems to these specs. Here's the price to do it. They all say no. And then 2-3 years down the road, when they take a hit or bad power, and I'm like, here's the price to do it now, and then they all say yes. So it's an I told you so moment, but at the end of the day, it is their money that they're spending, so I can't make their decisions for them. I can only make the recommendations of what I would do if I own the building or own the house.
Yeah, at least you're trying though. I mean, so many people don't try to push through the objections, and I've seen that.
We've seen that firsthand.
Yeah, we see people talking about that. People that have come from other companies that have tried to interview with us and do the sales role play. They'll give us options. We hit them with objections, and they're like, "All right, we'll just send you the estimate." Like, but how about push a little bit, you know?
Well, and like you say, like pushing through the objections, and I think of it more as educating my customer, right? Like, oh, I don't want to fix those leaky heads. Well, if that's a gallon a minute for 30 minutes, you're losing 30 gallons every other day when you're running your system. And what's the water rate? Like, we all have smart devices, and I like the episode that you guys did on AI, and I feel like that was really helpful in the office and sales end. But we now have AI available to us on our phones. Like, you can look up real quick how much the rate of water is in whatever city you're in. And it's stupid that you have this massive computer in the palm of your hands and you're not going to use it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And people have said, oh, I don't like, I've had a lot of people that are, oh, I don't know about AI. I don't know about this. Like, I don't want to lose my skills. And I'm in the role that I think AI is just another tool. I look at it as a bigger, better, fancy calculator, right? Like, you're not going to sit and do math on nozzles, gallons per minute when you got a calculator in your pocket, right? Mm-hmm. So why would you do something that AI can do better and faster and give you the information and use that bigger, better calculator?
Yeah. And there's so many people that I've worked with over the years. You tell them about all this stuff. Hey, you got lack of coverage here. You got over coverage here. You've got this zone's running too long. We got all these leaking heads. You go to pitch all this stuff to them, and they're like, well, I just want to fix this. And I'm like, well, how about you just pay me my service fee and we just shut it off, because there's no point. You might as well stand out here with a water hose if you're not going to fix any of this.
Yeah.
Be way better off.
Yeah, we've definitely told people that.
And I've had other customers too, like where you go back to understanding what your individual customer wants, and I'll call this customer type the gardener. They could care less about their turf coverage, but they got them nice tea roses or whatever plants and flowers they have in their landscape. They want to water that. They want to make sure. I had one lady, super sweet, and she said, I'm at the point my doctor and my kids say I can't get up and down this hill and drag a hose around to water my plants, but I like to sit on my deck and look at my plants, and I want to make sure they're taken care of and they're not going to die. And I totally understood what she wanted as the customer, right? Like, so I'm like, let us fix all these drip lines that squirrels have chewed up. You need a new pressure regulator because this one is shot, and that's why the drip line is shot. Redid all the drip line, put individual drip emitters into her rose bushes, her begonias, and all of the flowers. I say, hey, do you want this specific flower to get extra water? Yes, she does. Those micro emitters are the value she wants, right? And figuring out what each individual customer wants, because they're not all the same. They're not all going to want to save water. Most of them are going to want to save water and money, but a customer like that, she wants to water her flowers. Or there's some customers offering drip on their hanging baskets or their front flowers. Did you know we could do a drip zone? And I did a lot of micro drip zones last year from pitching drip zones, and I have it at my house because my wife, we have triplet 6-year-olds. So my wife does not have time to water hanging baskets. And hanging baskets are expensive. I'm an irrigation guy. I'm putting micro drip in my hanging baskets in the front so they look nice all summer long, right?
Yep.
And some customers go on vacation a lot and they say, that's great. Now I don't need to find somebody to water my plants when I go to the cabin. Now they just know that they're going to have a micro drip in all their planters that's going to run 2 times a day, every day. And it's like, if that's what the customer wants, give them a price for that. And if you're not pitching it, you lost that opportunity to sell it and do more work, right?
Yeah, I've had customers request because they care. I've had a couple people that they've cared so much about their flowers. I get out there, get through the introductions. They're like, hey, I got 3 heads. I got drip line in my flower bed, and I got 3 heads right here in the front yard. I don't care about the front yard. I want you to turn these heads to face the flower bed. You can't help but laugh because that's what they care about. They don't care about the grass. It's funny.
So, I'd be curious. Do you have like a way, or either one of you have like a way, if they call about, maybe they call about whatever issue, how do you get them to then transition to what they really care about? Let's say they called about because they got a leak. Maybe they don't even know. You know what I'm saying? Oh, now they just walk out. Something's bubbling up in the front yard. They have to address that. How do you get them to start talking about? I really just want all my plants watered. I want all this micro drip, or maybe I want. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you get them to express what they really want?
Quite honestly, I talk to my customers about anything they want to talk about. If that seems weird, but sometimes, sometimes customers got classic cars or motorcycles in their garage, and they want to talk to you about that project that they did. Like, I'm going to let them talk to me about that stuff, and then I'm going to work in what my irrigation knowledge and expertise. And like a lot of times you said it right, you're getting called out for one broken head or one broken line. And I always do, hey, I'm going to check your whole system and just walk through and make sure everything else is missing, because I want to save you. If something else is broken, I don't want you to have another trip charge for me to come back. So I'm just going to check everything while I'm here. And then you'll get the nod in the, oh yeah, go ahead and do that. Like, because it makes sense to them to not spend money for you to come out twice if they got another broken head, and hey, it actually looks like you got another broken head in the back. Do you want me to fix that? That's going to be, here's the estimate to fix that broken head in the back too, and the repair to do your broken pipe in the front yard. And then they're like, yeah, that'd be great. Fix both of that at the same time.
Yeah, I've had a lot of success over the years. You get out there and they're like, hey, I got this pipe leaking right here. Okay, check the whole system. Oh, you got 3 other leaking pipes in the backyard that you didn't know about, and they're like, you pitch them a price, and they're like, oh, I can't afford all that. And then just by saying, well, how about this? If you'll go ahead, we'll get these other 3 paid for. I'll get these done. I'll just take care of the one you called about for free. And then it changes their mindset. Like, okay, I'm not even paying what I called about now. Not even paying for what I called about, and it shifts them.
Yeah, I like that, because everybody likes to think that they're getting a deal. And there's like a psychological aspect of the imperative. That's why a lot of times, like, well, now I call it the TikTok QVC, right? Like, you're only going to get this deal for a limited time deal. Like, that's to get them to feel like, oh, there's an imperative that I'm benefiting if I pay for this now. We have some of that, like, there's a deadline payment for our packages, right? Like, to save the percentage on the package, you have a deadline of April 1st or whatever to sign on that package. So that gives them an imperative to actually, and a deadline to get something done. And some people are like me, and they wait until the minute before the deadline to do everything. Thus is my college life. I did a lot of papers written at 11 p.m. to get it in by the 12 p.m. deadline.
Yeah, well, we have a lot of customers like that too.
Yeah, a lot of people are like that.
I can't tell you how many people they call. We've had people call in the middle of July for their spring startup. Like,
Yeah.
We always get people that call the first time it snows to get their irrigation system winterized.
Oh yeah.
Like, same deal, right? And you're just like, I guess we can do a startup in July. I guess we can do a blowout right now. Like it might be frozen and damaged, but that's a lot of what happens too, right? You're just like, the customer wants the service now. I'm still going to give it to them, right? Like, and we're going to walk through their stuff and we're going to look at their stuff. And a lot of those lawns, it's like, oh geez, I'm going to have to water a little bit extra to get it back up to where it needs to be because it's dried out now at this point in the season.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to be ready for that because people do wait till the last minute. And you can't be mad at them, really. You just have to take it for what it is and go get out there and do your best.
Yeah, and like I said, you can never be discouraged by all the no. You're going to get a lot of no's. I used to do, for one spot I was at, we were doing Angie's List. Have you guys ever dealt with any Angie's List bids?
Yeah.
You shake your head no. And Angie's List was, most of the customers on Angie's List were looking for the cheapest price.
Yep.
And I was estimating installs at that, and I was like, if I was 20% close on sales on that, and I guess maybe that's where a lot of my like just rapid fire more estimates. And sometimes you just got the feeling of a person when you met a person that they really connected with you on a personal level. I don't really know how to describe it more than that. Oh, I know this guy is going to buy from me because he likes me. And that's the kind of thing. So you would send those estimates, like, I am literally going to do, like, swing in this McDonald's, scab their Wi-Fi for a minute, and send out this irrigation estimate to this house I was just at 10 minutes ago.
Yep.
Because that sale is the slam dunk.
Yeah, we had I think we did some things on Angie's List, but we had some really bad luck with, I guess they would call it that home concierge service.
Oh yeah, that's not like a national thing though.
Yeah, so there was a company here that reached out to us. Basically what they do is they're like a concierge service for the homeowner. So the homeowner pays them a specific amount of money per month. It's like a membership thing. And basically what they do is they cut out Angie's List, they cut out Google, they say, hey, you pay us, we'll find you the best people. So basically what it is so they would call us for a homeowner. So we get out there, we can't even pitch our ideas to the homeowner. We have to pitch it to them. Then they tack on 10, 20, or 25% and then pitch it to that customer. And that was a mess.
Yeah, well, you're dealing with like a game of telephone then. And it's like, is that person that's not an irrigator in the property management world, like, are they going to be able to communicate that over to the customer? And they have no incentive to really close the sale for you, right?
No, and it was a mess.
At least not as much as you have to close it for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't let you pitch it. Right there at the end, they finally would let us pitch to the customer, but we had to tack on the 20% for them. And I'm sitting here like, why am I giving you money for something I'm doing?
Yeah.
I haven't done any of those, but I've done some like professional property managers, like the houses and stuff are rented. So there'll be like a company that, and then they'll say, hey, I have these 15 houses that I need the irrigation startup and blowout on. And you get a bundle from them. A lot of times they include the mowing and fertilizer and such. And they're looking for the bundle price to save their customer that money, right?
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad.
And they usually give you a pre-approval, like, oh, if anything's over 250, you need to let us know, but anything under that, go ahead and fix it. So you're like, okay, like this valve that's not closing, I know I need to fix that, so I'm going to fix that first. I'm going to prioritize what I fix on these systems. Like, yeah, every single head in the yard leaks out of the seals, so let's pick the two that are just geysers and fix those first and see how much budget they have left for the system, right?
What do they usually pay quickly or?
They pay that term 30 or whatever, like they pay, right? So that's the thing. And if you have one of those companies that doesn't pay, buy. Like in the plowing world, you'll see a lot of that. And I won't mention any bad actors by name, but you see a lot of guys talking, a lot of the Facebook plowing groups that are like, oh, so-and-so didn't pay me, like, or this company called me for emergency service because their plow guy stopped plowing them midway through the season. Well, their plow guy stopped plowing because he probably didn't get paid. And I've done some irrigation stuff like that I actually did some that I was subbed from a buddy of mine. He was doing a series of banks, right? And everything was app based when you did the service. So like when I was doing blowouts for him, I had to take a picture of the tag that I hung on the blowout with the date and the valve closed with the do not open tag, right? I have to take a picture of me taking the plug out and a picture, of the zones as they're blowing out and a picture of the controller on off, right? So you need to send 4 pictures to them. Is that really a huge pain in the butt on an approved service to do something like that? No, I think that's easy enough to do. And a lot of those places, they're professional companies. They're gonna pay on time. You're gonna have that 30, 60, 90-day term on some of that stuff. But as a bigger business, you can wait 90 days out to get paid on a blowout or a startup or whatever. Like it's not a huge deal as long as that professional management company is paying you, right?
Yeah.
And that's how you get into a lot of the national, like your Targets, your Walmarts, like those are all going to be managed by some big, broader national management company that says, well, goes to Walmart and say, this is how much all your Walmarts is going to cost. And they, of course, are going to try to divvy it up and find the contractors willing to do it for the littlest amount of money so they can, increase their profits because they're spreadsheet guys, right? And doing work for them, you kind of understand the equation, but it's like, hey, if I want to do the startup and the blowout at all these Walmarts, like, and I'm going to take a package of 10 that are nearby that are in my service area, then I'm going to grab that package, right? And it can be beneficial for some people. Other people that are like, there's not enough money in it. I'm not even gonna look at it because I make way more money just servicing the customers I already have and gonna grow my customer base the way I've always grown it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. We've had some trouble with commercial not paying us. I don't mind waiting 30 days, even 60 days maybe, but
Yeah.
just not paying, I don't.
I remember
Well, and a lot of that comes down to contracts, right?
And we have them. But, it's like,
Have you had to go after some and stuff, and that's left a bad taste in it for you?
I think we're going to have one we have to go after soon.
yeah,
Uh,
it's more often than not that we with commercial, it's like it, and that's we don't get paid. They can't approve us. I've got an estimate out for an HOA right now that's like $27,000, and the guy's like, oh yeah, we're gonna go with it, but I got to wait a month for the board to get together so we can maybe approve it. And then month goes by, the board's like, well, let's get another quote from another company. Our quote was better, but the other company quoted them something different. So now they're like, well, see if they'll do this. And I'm like, yeah, of course we can do that. Okay, well, now I got to wait another month for the board to get together again. It's like,
yeah.
You really got to try the yeah. I would be happy to go to the board meeting and explain all the things that we have in this estimate for the board, right? Like to get that face to face. Again, you're trying to get that relationship with the board so they trust you. They probably already know the property manager. The property manager can introduce you. You can go up with either your PowerPoint or your boards or whatever, or you give them all a nice little packet that's outline everything in the estimate, and that goes a long way to those boards to see that you're have a different level of professionalism, right? Because with the higher price, you have a higher level of professionalism.
It's not a bad idea. Go
Yeah.
to the boards.
yeah, going.
Do you
straight.
guys just not to rabbit off in the weeds? Do you guys like what is your guys' uniforms? Do you guys do polos?
We do polos, yes.
Yeah, he's wearing it underneath there.
Yeah. Just and I'll just say that because like the professionalism brings me up to that. Like, are you guys do you guys got guys going out wearing some sort of uniform where some companies you'll see they're wearing
Whatever.
just a dirty t-shirt. Like
Oh,
like
no.
No,
I don't need
everybody.
you out there in a Metallica t-shirt doing irrigation, right?
Absolutely.
We all have polos. We've got one. No, we've got two guys that will wear it's a button up, but it's still a polo. But they all the same color. They all have the same lettering. We all have matching hoodies, matching Carhartts, everything, matching hats,
matching
everything
hats.
matches.
And doing like commercial work and install work, like we do sometimes have the safety yellow or vests, right? Like obviously I never want anybody to get tagged by a vehicle, say you're doing an Amazon warehouse, right? Like Amazon makes you as part of like as part of, you got to have a vest on, and you should have those available to your guys, right? If they're doing that kind of work, like they should have a vest. I always say blowout season is always like blowout season is always dark, rainy, dreary. Like I'm not trying to get hit, so if I got you guys having raincoats, your raincoats are going to be high vis. Like it is just part of the uniform. There's a safety factor involved in it, and I don't think it looks unprofessional to have your raincoat be high vis with reflective wear. Like I think it's I always think that I think the polos are really important to look more professional and being value stuff. So I think polos become really important at that point. Um, Now commercial work, like I said, a lot of commercial, like you got guys running dozers and everything or whatever on a commercial site, like we're gonna give you a vest with Creekside on the back of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it sets the tone. When the customer opens the door, they look out, they see the van, they see the guy standing there with the uniform on. You're setting the tone and letting them know, hey, okay, I called a professional. I feel better about this versus somebody just rolling up, in an old rusted out, beat up truck. Like you said, with a Metallica shirt on, with a hat with a hat that's been worn for the last 6 years. It's never been washed. And it's like that tells the customer right there what they're getting ready to expect.
Yeah, all of our guys
Well, and
have
how many
iPads.
companies out there will be like, here's your 3 work shirts. Do you only want that guy to work 3 days of the week? Like, like if you can't afford to give a guy that you're just onboarding, like, so my thought on it too is I'll give an irrigation guy 4 polos, 3 sweatshirts and 1 t-shirt, right? And I say, you know what? If Friday or your day you're doing HOA work, you want to wear the t-shirt instead of the polo. Now, me myself, I feel more comfortable in the polos because I've just worked in polos for so long that you get those athletic polos. It doesn't make a difference heat wise for me. I find that they probably breathe a little bit better than just a cotton t-shirt.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah.
And I know some guys want long sleeve shirts. If you want long sleeve shirts to cover your arms and stuff, like I'm getting you that gear because it's a different level of culture too in our company to say like I'm providing you with everything you need to do, including uniforms to get your job done.
You have to do that. Yeah.
When you raise, we've found, because we've grown over the years, we've made mistakes and stuff like that. But as it grows, you have to say, well, I want to raise the expectations, so in return, I'm going to raise the resources.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of our guys don't like working in the cold, so it's all right. You get Carhartts, you get overalls, you get gloves, whatever you need to be warm. But you can't shut down when it's cold. You're still gonna have to work. Just get all the warm clothes.
Yeah, and I mean stuff. Even your cold is different than our cold.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
And you were at the thing in Canada. How cold was it when you were in Canada?
-18.
Yeah, so about what it is today. Like, yeah, it's not pleasant to
No.
even go outside in that.
No, it's not. 5 minutes,
you're
my
right,
fingers
providing-
hurt.
Gear and gloves, and I mean, if your guy says I need a new shovel because this one's broken or whatever, worn out, you're gonna get him a new shovel. And I think some of the other stuff is you have to look at all this gear that you're giving your employees and giving them every year. Like, I'm not expecting you to keep your shirts for 5 years. Like, if I see your shirt, it's got PVC glue on it, and it's like it doesn't look good to me. Like, here's your new shirt. Let me give you that one. We're gonna throw that in the rag bin at the shop. You can use that for oil change rags now. Like, it doesn't have value in you looking professional to the customer anymore.
Yeah, definitely. You got to look nice, clean. I mean, we got to be able to
and
make
part
sense.
of it is part of that just gives you the same attitude, right? Like that professionalism attitude comes with you looking professional. And you look at yourself in the mirror in the morning, you're like, yeah, I do look professional. Like I'm ready to go out there and be an irrigation professional.
That's what it's all about. We're trying to level up this industry. We shouldn't be looked at as just lawn guys. I mean, I know you mow, but like as far as the irrigation side, like we we're not people that just mow. We don't just go out and pull weeds in the flower bed. This is a
Well, irrigation and be looked at like any other contractor. You call an electrician, you call a plumber to your house, and those guys are gonna, the plumber and stuff. I had a plumber, they were frozen pipe, and the plumber, he boom, had an estimate right there on his tablet. Like, and like I said, the 24-hour service thing, that level of professionalism to be able to just show up, look professional, act professionally is really important in our world, right? And just be seen like those other top tier contractors. No one questions when the electrician comes to your house and charges you $200 an hour.
Neither do they question the plumber.
oh yeah.
And why are we questioning the irrigation? Because we got other guys in the industry that think, oh man, I can't buy a new truck, and they're running the rusted truck. They're not running nice stuff. And it's like, if you guys are professional and you guys have the skills, look professional, because that's how you're going to portray first look on the customer. And the customer is going to judge that book by the cover, right?
100%.
And if they're going to judge you by how you look, then you better look how you feel on the inside.
Yeah. You got to be confident.
And that's, for me, that's the best irrigator out there, right? Like, I'm not trying to be the cheapest. I'm trying to be the best, right? So I got to look like the best.
Yeah, I tell the when I was working, I was telling the customers like, look, I'm trying to do this the right way, the best way I can. I don't want to come back out here in a week. You don't want me back out here in a week. So why don't we just not just do this the right way?
Can we close a whole hour, huh?
Yeah, we hit an hour.
Yeah.
And I'll end it with this. I really enjoyed the episode on branding and wrapping vans and getting a mascot. Can you see my zebra behind me? We've been soft launching that as we go, and I think like in the lawn world, the zebra having stripes and striping lawns really goes there's a lot of phrases and quotes that can be added there. Kind of got my boss Bill on board. He's the owner, and he's like, he's warming more up to the zebra, and I want to put a zebra on every truck. And I always think there's lawn or irrigator that's got the gator on there.
Oh yeah.
You remember that name, right? And that stuff. And I really took that to heart from that episode. And I'm like, oh, that's a great point. Like, we should have something interesting as a mascot that somebody's going to remember. I want them to be like Irrigation Company Zebra, and I want Creekside to pop up in their head, on their Google and in their head when they think about who I'm going to call for irrigation.
Well, we've had customers' kids call us the frog people.
Yeah.
Oh, your frog is your guys' mascot?
Yeah.
Yeah. We got a big frog. Yeah, it's great. I mean, and I guess to end it with this, I mean, if you want to charge premium prices, it also like we couldn't charge what we do if we were still in an unmarked van, no tablets. For it all builds on each other. When you have a wrapped van or just a wrapped truck, you have nice uniforms. You have the tablet. You're presenting yourself as a professional. You're doing all of these things. You're polite. You're smiling. When you start adding all of that stuff, the people answering the phone are polite. They're offering good service. When all of that stuff starts building on each other, by the time you get there and you give a price that's higher, then it's easier to make that sale. You start taking all that stuff away.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can promise you, because we've done it on experiment on accident. You take one of those pieces of that puzzle out and it all falls apart.
Yeah. Yep. It's all this package. You're putting this package together of what you're giving your customer. And that's, trying to come with the complete value that you're bringing to the customer. And like, I just describe it as high value, right? I'm looking for high value customers. I'm a high value irrigation contractor, full service contractor. I'm not going to be the cheapest because I'm going to have that value added to me. And I think what you guys are doing is a great insight into the industry, and it's doing the industry a good service to try to level up everything. I know, as Kevin says, he's like, the rising tide raises all the ships. And I think there are a few of us out here that are trying to really get that level of the water up, and it's, I'm too in the aspect, like, I'll go and train other guys. Like, yes, I'm charging a consulting fee for when I do some of this 2-wire repairs for other contracts, but sometimes other contractors are, hey, can you show me how to do this? I just need some hands-on training to do it. And I'm happy to do that because I'm thinking we're all coworkers, just that work at different companies.
Yeah.
We all set the industry standard, and if there's not anybody out there telling everybody what the standard is, the standard will be whatever the majority is, and that's going to be an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we're raising the level. Like I think we're long are going to be the days of the rusty pickup truck and the guy in a Metallica shirt. Like if mid-level, if you don't send your guys out with enough t-shirts to have your t-shirt every day, and then you're going to see the guys that are wearing polos, and as you're leading by example, and we see more guys that are like, hey, these guys are doing something different. They're able to charge more. They're able to pay their employees more. Even comes down the line, like, what is your impact on the community as a whole? Do you guys do community interactions and stuff?
Not like we donate to the North Texas Food Bank, but we don't get out into the community very much.
Yeah. So like stuff like that, like that's obviously you guys believe in that North Texas Food Bank, and you're able to put your money where your mouth is, and you're not able to do that if you're just bottom scraping the barrel just to get by from job to job, right? Like when you have the higher prices, it gives you the ability to give back into your community more. We did some stuff with our local school district in early childhood intervention, right? Or early childhood education, right? So, I mean, stuff like that. Like when some local nonprofit comes to you and asks you for some funding, and you're like, yeah, I got that. Like, I got you. I think this is important to do. That again, like, why are these guys talking about that on an irrigation podcast? That's important, right? Like, but it does become important, and it's just one of those little pieces. Like, do you need to do that? Probably not. But if you take it away and it gets you out there, and again, the mascots are cool because maybe you do a parade and you get little frog beanie babies with your logo printed on it, and instead of throwing candy, like you're like, all right, we got these 25 frogs to give out to little kids. We think it's great. We think it's cool. We think it's fun. And does it maybe gain you a customer? Maybe. Is it always about gaining a customer? Not necessarily. Sometimes it's about what our impact, and like I said, a lot of it, you owning a company know that there is some responsibility on your shoulders to charge enough to pay guys a livable wage because you feel responsible for those paychecks not bouncing, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and then
and not that you guys are in that spot, but there are some business owners that are like, dang, how am I going to make payroll this month?
Well, that goes back to our first episode, the one that wasn't titled very well. I think in there multiple times we both said, are you in business to work just to pay for yourself, or are you in business to build a legacy? You got to make that decision.
I think. Well, have you done a podcast about are you charging enough? Has that been a topic?
We did one where we went over like, because we have to be at like $200 an hour just to cover our expenses.
Yeah.
And we broke down like our hourly rate. We do flat rate, but it's based off of an hourly rate.
Well, yeah, because you break it down and you say, okay, average a sprinkler head is going to take 15 minutes to repair. So if we're at $200 an hour, that's $50 to replace a sprinkler head in labor, and that's added on top of the cost and the upcharge of the sprinkler head. So to replace a sprinkler head, it's going to be $85. Like, and that's. You
guessed that
necessarily
perfectly.
breaking it down to the numbers. That's important, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Am I dead on?
You were actually dead on. You weren't even off by $1.
Yeah. So, and that's me knowing what your cost of doing business is and breaking it down. And I mean, I obviously know what the cost of a sprinkler head is. I've done this long enough that I know what that is and what the markup on it is, right? Like. And to get other guys understanding that, and especially those guys that are scraping the bottom of the barrel, trying to make understand. I don't understand, where am I failing in this business that I'm not making it?
Yeah. And people will say, "Oh, you can't put in a sprinkler for 85." Well, yeah, you can. We do it every day.
Yeah.
Now if they have 20, we can do we have a multi-head sprinkler price.
Let's do a bulk price on it.
Yeah, we'll do a bulk price. But if you got 2, if you're calling me out for 2. They're $85 a piece.
Well, and it's like too, like doing HOA work. If it's like, I know I need to drop in, like I'm going out there with a click counter. Actually, I use an app on my phone and it'll count. Like I got common stuff like leaks, nozzles, heads, MP nozzle, and I'll just, oh, you need 2 MP nozzles. I'm hitting it on my phone on my counter. So and then that lets me just give that big estimate at the end of the day and give a price and say, like, here's everything I'm fixing and here's your price to fix it. And yeah, it's going to be $7,000 to get your HOA system up and running, but it's a 24 zone system, you know, and if they say no, or they say, hey, we only have the budget for $3,500. I've had that a few times. And you say, okay, this is the most important stuff, and here's what matches your budget.
Yeah.
And they'll say, okay, let's go do that. And I say, and now here's a B price for the rest of the stuff to get fixed. So it's next quarter, next year, whatever. Like now you have, you know what you're looking at ahead of time too. So you can budget more. Some of these big redos on HOA systems, like they budget 2 or 3 years ahead of time for it.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, that's never going to come through. But then when you have one that you did a bid 3 years ago and they say, hey, is this still a good price? And you're like, let me revisit that. And you either say, hey, that price is still good, or actually, like, we're going to adjust the price and it's going to be $2,000 more than that $30,000 repair. But, you know, cost of materials have gone up, whatever. We've seen that over COVID. Cost of materials just skyrocketed in some things.
Oh, yeah. They keep going up. It seems like every quarter they go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, cost of trailers in this industry, I haven't seen trailers ever go down in price.
No, they always go up. They're never going down.
No, trailers will never go back down.
No.
I bought a trailer.
So it's like, you want to buy a trailer now, or you want to buy it next year when it's going to cost more?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't buy a used, rusted out, needing all 4 bearings trailer for what he bought his brand new all those years ago.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
Do you have it just parked, not making you money?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where that expanding in that fertilizer world gets. You gonna get yourself a nice Z spray or something, or?
Well, it'll just be residential. If we do get a commercial account, I'll
Z-sprays
pull it
are good.
out.
Yeah. If it's residential, a lot of them are push spreaders, unless you get into what I call, like, I don't necessarily call them the mansion style, but like you got the 3-acre yards, right?
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
your 15 zone plus systems out there. Like there are some big ones that Z sprays and stuff are going to make you money on one of those big, you know, those customers, which depending on where you are, like you said, some of those customers are living beyond their means, but some of them are comfortable spending the money. And those are the high value customers to us, and how we can identify them and find them and keep meeting their expectations, right? Like you're not going to get one of those customers on board and fail their expectations. They're looking for a new contractor
Immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Well,
right. I got some guys stirring. So they call this the garage. I've seen people have commented that this is a garage. It's essentially a crow's nest office that overlooks my shop, and I see guys stirring. We gotta fix some stuff from the last snow event and get everything rocking and rolling here today.
No, you're fine.
I got guys stirring too.
Yeah. I appreciate you guys. Like I said, I appreciate what you guys are doing for the industry. It's nice to know that we're not out here alone, that there's other guys trying to elevate the industry. I either say we're pulling you up from the top, or we're pushing you up from the bottom. So like whatever way you want to look at it, we're trying to get you up and over the hill, and we're trying to elevate where everybody's at skill wise, essentially professionalism, right? And that community of more professional irrigators really raises the level for everybody, and it reflects upon us as a community of irrigators out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Well said. Yeah. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah. Good talking with you.
All right. Let me know when this episode drops, and I'll post a link in my group when you guys, I don't know if you drop them the next day or how many ever.
Yeah. I'll send you a message. It'll probably be Wednesday. I'll send you a message.
Wednesday. In the group, we're gonna go over that. I run the Irrigation Tech Talk group on Facebook with Justin and Reed and a couple other guys over there, and you know, same kind of deal. we're there for advice. I know I use it sometimes. I'm like, I've never seen this flow meter. I'll snap a picture of that, or valves. A lot of times you see like somebody be like, what is this old valve? Can I get parts for it? And everybody's like, no, cut it out. Or like I said, flow meters, because a lot of times I'm into flow and flow management, and I'm just like, hey, what brand flow meter? And somebody's like, that's a Badger HT, blah, 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 number. And I'm like, thanks, bud. That's exactly what one it is, you know?
Yeah. No, it's been great. That group, it's a great group. It's a big group.
It's a big group. We try to keep a lot of the Chinese knockoff spammers out of that group. It always falls in like,
Thank God.
I don't need to buy your Rainbird knockoff head like for $2 cheaper.
Yeah.
No, you're doing a good job of that because the other groups, or some of the other groups, are flooded with it.
Yeah, and I try not to let it disdain. A lot of points I was running it like the Wild West, and in fact, I know you said, I don't know if you were talking about my group when you were talking about a lot of the guys have gotten better about posting a pay range when they're looking to hire.
Yeah, it was.
And my philosophy on that is like, you're never going to attract top talent if you're not putting that price out there. A lot of times I've coached these guys and say, you got to say you're getting a 401k, you're getting health insurance, all of this is coming with this. Your salary is XYZ, and if you're not offering that, you're not going to attract top talent. And I say you got to realize guys in this group are in the irrigation realm. They're not looking for the $20 an hour no experience price, right? Like, give them a pay range, or say, hey, if you got your CIT and your CLIA, then I'm willing to pay you $35 an hour if you have those two things, because those are valuable to me.
Yeah,
do you guys need a license to backflow test in your state, or does that come?
It's a separate license.
But again, so if you have that license and you can test backflows for me, you're more valuable. So I'm going to give you a $2 an hour pay raise bump, right? Or even lay that stuff out. And it's great that more guys have gotten the message. A lot of times I used to message people, and now I just delete it and pop the rule that you need to have a pay range listed with a job posting.
Yeah, so that's good. Too many people were just posting.
It should be a job offering, not a job demand.
Yeah, that's what
I demand you to work for me. No,
yeah,
it's not.
Yeah,
it's all requirements and nothing else, or just like a 2-sentence. We're hiring in this city. DM me
in
for
this
details.
city. Even better is we're hiring. Where are you?
Yeah.
Where are you hiring? Are you hiring in Texas? Are you hiring in Florida? Oh no, you're in Tennessee. Like,
yeah.
Do
you even want to hire?
Yeah.
That's maybe a cry for help. Like, I'm trying to hire and I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah,
that's a warning.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, nobody serious on the top level is taking anybody that's not telling them what they want out of an irrigator. Like I said, if you want a guy with backflow testing, but that's okay if they don't have that, but you're paying more if you got it, right? Like, just kind of breaking that stuff out. And there's a guy up here, Irrigation by Design. We did a Northern Green Expo, and he was talking about, he has it laid out for his techs. He makes his techs for all the different licenses and stuff. Like, they have a 50% share in how much it costs to get that license, but then it's either you get a flat amount of money for completing that, or you get a boost in your hourly pay for completing that, depending on what it is, right? And that makes a lot of sense, because those guys aren't just going to waste your money trying to take a test that they know they aren't going to pass. If they're invested in passing it, because they put $800 down on like a CIC or a CIT, they're going to go after it, and they're going to really want to get it because it's their money and their investment.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
that's good stuff.
Learning stuff from other people in the industry. I think that's what we're all doing. We're just trying to share what works for us, and what works for us doesn't necessarily work for somebody else. But if they can get some more insight into something, they can gain that from somebody else. That's a great thing, right?
Yeah, no, it's not about just copying and pasting. It's just about taking the information, run it through your own filter, and then making it work for you.
All right, guys. Minnesota, goodbye on that. Thanks once again. I'm gonna get out, and we got some snow blowers and stuff to fix. Let's all get out there and get to work.
All right,
buddy. Good talking to you.
Thanks.
Yep, thank you.
Well, I think that was a pretty good episode.
Yeah, no, that was good. Hopefully, people got some stuff out of that.
Yep. Well, I guess we're gonna have another guest next week.
I'll try to see if line somebody up.
All right.
See if we can find somebody else to get on. Yeah, everybody just like and subscribe. Follow us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Send us some questions.
Yeah, I'd like to do some more email questions. I think we can really touch people with doing email questions.
Yep.
Get out there in the world and try to get everybody, like he said, try to get everybody off the bottom.
Yeah, no doubt.
You don't deserve to be on the bottom. We're here to help.
No, and people are starting to level up. I mean, there's like 5 companies that are running around in wrap trucks, charging premium prices just in Dallas. So I mean, if you're gonna have to level up, or you're gonna get
Left behind.
left behind.
If you're not doing it, we will.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, guys. We will see you in the next episode.
Thanks.